In this video, we're building a Branchline station, printing details like catenary mast using the new Anycubic Photon Mono 4K, modifying the printed details, adding details and lights to the interior, and weathering it.
Hello and welcome to a video tutorial in which we will model a Branchline station and its environments. Yes, I've had this behind me here. This is the new one. I had the old plastic one which I just put in place there a long time ago just to fill the space. But now finally I've built this station which I've been aiming for to have here ultimately. And we will also be working with the interior a bit. We will add tons of details and I had the opportunity to borrow the new Anycubic Photon Mono 4K, which is being released next week to print all of these fantastic details. So let's get to it.
We're starting this by kicking off the printing, and as said, we're doing it on this brand new Photon Mono 4K, which is the upgraded version of the Mono. This Anycubic Mono 4K also have a bit bigger print surface than my Photon Ultra, which helps when I'm printing the catenary masts. So now we're up and running. The first item is the Swedish payphone booth in 60s style. Here are some park benches and the turnout and signal cranks. And look at the detail here. I think the drawing could have been even more detailed. Here's the prototype and my model of it. The trick to get large item off the support is to press and slide them. And there you get them away from the support and then into the curing chamber. And here are some of the items I printed during the first day of this project. The catenary mast with their slide-in foot, the payphone booth, station office interior, as well as some exterior. Here are park benches, which I will assemble later. And the detail is really stunning. Awesome stuff. Squeezing all of the items during the post-curing process helps them to avoid getting warped or skewed. And then of course they need to be absolutely dry. To simplify the paint job, I put a double-sided adhesive tape on a stick and then stick all the objects to it. I'm gonna start by applying a brown primer on all of the objects just to reduce the transparency in the apricot resin. So planks in the park benches will actually be brown, whilst the catenary masts are painted in green, which is the Swedish standard. So here are the items painted and ready for assembly. I typically use fast set glue for that, and here's the first item, which is the park bench. The catenary masts as well came out very nicely. This is the old generation Swedish style. It also has this smart assembly using slide-in foot. And the cost of resin to print one of those is 0.04 euro, so very cheap. However, I'm not going to use it as a catenary pole. I will add some lights in top of it and have them in my yard. Just a loop of steel wire and a LED, and it looks like this. The station house itself is from a model railroad club here in Sweden, which is called Kalmar. And it's a very detailed model of a station called Jenny. In this kit, like most laser cuts, you start by building the structure onto which the house will be built. The windows are made in jigs, which were provided with the kit, which is very nice. You thereby get everything perfectly aligned, which helps the later assembly a lot. Once all the walls are in place, but not the windows, then it's time to give this house the first layer of paint. For that I'm using a kind of rich coat of gray paint from a water-based acrylic spray can. Leave that to dry, and then once we have this first layer of paint, it's easy to see where we need to do some plastering. For this I'm using a fine type plaster, water-based as well, just to fill any cracks or crevices. Wipe excess off using a razor blade or a steel plaster. Now, plaster walls can have both kind of fine and coarse texture, and in this case I will add a really coarse texture. To do this I'm applying first PVA glue with a brush. I then sprinkle a layer of chinchilla sand, which you find low cost in your zoo store. Now the particles in chinchilla sand all are coated with a very thin layer of dust. The layer of dust prevents the particles to get stuck in the white glue. So to increase the bond, mist a mix of 9 part water and 1 part alcohol over the entire surface. We can then apply the top coat. Again, I'm using a water-based paint, spray paint here, a light gray. Alright, now we can get started on the assembly of windows. These were stacked 2 and 2, so to give some depth and detail to the windows. Then you assemble the windowsill in that slot below as well. I then assemble all of the windows in a row on my self-adhesive stick and apply a layer of dark gray paint. Same here, is that water-based. Pretty cool, in this kit they provided sapphire glass instead of plastic windows. So, well, if you avoid getting glue or anything else on the windows, you are set to have very clear view through the windows, and not at all like that blurry plastic. The roof is also pretty straightforward. It's will be a black plate, steel plate roof. So what I'm pushing in place here are the joints between the plates along the roof. So once I have these in place, we can start to paint the roof. And I'm starting by giving it a coat of that gray primer. The materials these laser cut kits are made from, which is a cardboard and some plywood, are very absorbing. So it's always good to give them a coat of primer before you apply the top coat. Otherwise the top coat will be totally absorbed by the material. Then of course do not apply too much, because then it will warp. Now we're ready to apply the top coat on the roof. And it's a black plate roof like this. I don't know how you work your gutters. Well, I think most often they're too thick and too fiddly to get in place, so I skip them. But in this kit I just had to assemble them. Look at these pretty metal objects. Alright, so now we have finalized this building. And look, this is kind of smart. It has an interior layer which is detachable from the house. And it has a ground plate which can be glued onto the surface. With a great support from all of the patrons and the kind people who's donating money to the channel, I've made a number of free printable interiors, and this is both walls, floors, and also some interior objects which could be glued onto the walls. These are available for download as PDFs from MRR Tutorials. So I will go for that black-white cafe-style floor in the hallway of my station. Like this. And I glue it in place using PVA glue and cut it to shape. Alright. Now there's a small room here with a hole in, and that's where you will route your cables. Thereby they will not be visible from any window. So here I'm adding the wallpaper in the hallway, and as said, I'm using PVA glue, which is equal about to Elmer Construction or Ponal. Add doors as well to the different rooms on both sides. Yeah, and the carpets as well, why not? This is oriental carpet. It's maybe not so common on stations, but this station have one. And also posters, wall posters is nice. Now, in order to be able to see the interior, you need lights. These type of strip lights can be bought very low cost on Wish. I think this was 10 meters and no more than like $2 or $4. And they're divided in sections of 3 LEDs, which can be powered at 12 volts. So I'm connecting my cables there, and they also have a self-adhesive backing, so it's just to peel off the mask and apply it in the roof like this. All right. And when you light it, it looks like this. Yeah, this cafe floor really pops when it gets some light to it. Very nice. Then we can continue with the interior. Here are some of the 3D printed items. The desk, the park sofa for tired legs. Yeah, look at that detail. Awesome. I just love it. And on the other side, flower pot and a bench without backrest. Okay, now I think I'm happy with the interior. Let's just put some figures in here. I put them close to windows and doors so they're visible. Then we can just add streaks of pastel chalk powder. This is light gray. So this will give life to that otherwise just black roof. Now there's only one part missing. Do you know what? It's the station sign. And this station is called Himmelsboda. And when the glue has dried, I weather it slightly with some streaks of brown. Now it's time to glue the station in place. And I prepared this surface here. It's plastered and painted gray. Once dry, it's just to push the station in place. So here are some of the details. The modified catenary masts with illumination in the top. The guy by the signal box makes sure that switches and signals are in the correct position. This guy is handling the tail lights for the lumber industry. And this girl is about to make a phone call for a pickup at the station. And here this little girl who's sitting on the bench outside in the sun. Another common sight on Swedish station is the sandbox for colder weather. And this is an overview of the entire creation.
Alright, so finally I got the Branchline station I've been wanting over a long period of time. And also found that investing a few bucks in a drawing package with print files is a good idea. You don't have to fiddle around with your computer. Just download the files, save them to USB, plug it into the printer and press on print. And then you can spend the time instead painting the items when they come out of the printer. I hope you liked this video and found information in it, which is of use for you. If you did, please help others to find the video by giving it a thumbs up. Did you know that this channel is totally dependent on its patrons? People supporting the channel. So if you want to be one of the good guys, get over to Patreon. Set up a support account there from like $1-2 per month, or make a one-off donation using the PayPal dialog found in the video description below. And don't forget to subscribe. Enable that little bell and you will get notification once next video gets published. Until that happens, see ya.